Hello and welcome to episode 16 of the podcast. In this episode, we're going to be talking through a formula for achieving goals. Now, there are many formulas out there, and more often than not, some are no better than others aren't better than some. So it's very much horses for courses, but it's very much finding your way of, or the best formula for you to be able to achieve the goals that you want to achieve. Now, I'm going to talk you through one that I use. I sometimes use a bit of a hybrid of the one that I'm going to talk about as well, but the essence and the general idea of what I'm doing holds between the goals that I want to achieve and how I go about achieving them. Now, again, the goals can be anything. It could be health related, it could be job related, it could be family related, whatever it needs to be. These principles that I'm talking about here are for goals in general, and it's very much a way of working through everything that needs to get done in order to achieve what you want to achieve. Now, before we get into the main bulk of the podcast, I'd just like to talk about my social channels. So you've got Facebook, which is Christopher Hole Training. You've got Twitter, which is @ChristopherHole, and you've got Instagram, which is Christopher Hole. So please do come along, like and follow. We try and share as much as we can there. So again, it's just another learning resource for you to gain more knowledge around health and fitness. Alternatively, you can join the website, which is christopherhole.com/join, where you just go to that link, you go click the button, you join up to the monthly newsletter, which is it's video content again. We do have some exclusive videos on there around the subject that we're talking about, which could be anything under health and fitness umbrella. It could be exercise, nutrition, it could be behavior, it could be a certain sport, it could be about planning. Anything that fits in that umbrella or under that umbrella, we try and cover. Again, video content to try and keep it as interactive as possible, with a couple of blogs on there that are relevant as well. So that's the social channels and that's the website. So it'd be great to have you along there, being able to answer any more questions. But again, it's all about educating and a learning resource for you to improve your health and fitness. So back to the podcast, where we are talking about a formula for achieving goals. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of talk you through the structure of it, and then I'll talk you through an example. Now, this is just an example I've just thrown together. It doesn't necessarily mean it's universal to everyone. It's just something that that's an example for me to help you follow through on putting this into action or putting it into place. So the main structure of it is what you do is at the top of an A4 sheet of paper or in a notebook or wherever it might be, on an Excel spreadsheet or on a Word document. Doesn't really matter where it is, but at the top you write down the outcome that you want. So it might not be a SMART goal to start with, but as we work into it, you'll start to see it become a SMART goal. So it's, first of all, write the outcome that you want to achieve. Then what you do is you then break that outcome up into parts. So it could be anywhere from 5 to 7 parts. It could be 3 parts. And then each of those parts you break down again. So what you're doing is you're taking your major outcome at the start, and then you're breaking it down into its components, and then you're breaking those components down into actions, if you will. And then what you can do from there is, once you've written them down, you can start organising them into a timeline. So what you're not doing is you're not trying to tackle every action at the same time, because some actions might come before others, and some actions might come at the same time. So you've got to organise it in a way that is logical, and then as you go about achieving them, you can just literally tick them off as you go. So the example is, I've just put down, live a healthier lifestyle. Now, it's quite vague, it's quite general, but hopefully what we'll start to see is there become specific outcomes off the back of it. And then what you can do is, once you've started living the healthier lifestyle, you could then move on to another outcome, which is to lose 2 stone in weight, if you will. But we're just going to stick with the live a healthier lifestyle, because it's quite easy to break up. So what we've got is component 1 is activity 10,000 steps per day. Component 2 is exercise. Component 3 is nutrition. Component 4 is behaviours. So if we then go back up to component 1, which is activity, 10,000 steps a day. Number 1 is start walking at lunchtime. Number 2 is buy a pedometer. Step 3 is start walking in the morning. Step 4, start working in the evening. Step 5 is go for a countryside walk 1 to 2 times a month. So that might be just 1 or 2 weekends a month. You go out into the countryside if you're not already there, and you walk there. And there's no time restraints. There's no step goals that you're looking for. You just go out for a walk in the country. Number 6 is you set up a journal to record your steps per day. And then number 7 is you buy a notebook. So what you're looking at there is just some 7 very simple steps or 7 very simple actions that you would implement over time. You wouldn't do all of those at the same time, you'd build them in. If we then go to step or component 2, which is exercise. So number 1 is research gyms in the area. Number 2 is work out the best times to go. Is it morning? Is it evening? Is it lunchtime? Is it weekends? The next one, number 3, is research exercises and programs that you might want to do. Number 4 is call the gym and book an appointment. And 5 is to join the gym. So what you've got there is you haven't actually gone into the gym yet. You're just setting everything up. Now, if you are a gym member, then you might want to go from research exercises and programs to then building in components after that, because you've already got the other 6. If we move on to component 3, which is nutrition, which is record current diet in notebook. So the notebook that you bought in from activity, you're now starting to record your diet within it. Number 2 is establish healthiest foods. So you might create a scoring system of 1 to 5, 1 being the unhealthiest foods and 5 being the healthiest foods. And you start to score your meals, or you start to score the foods that you're eating on that scale. Number 3 is research the healthiest diets. Number 4 might be buy 2 or 3 books. Number 5 is learn common healthy foods within those books. And then 6 is to buy those healthy foods or meals. If we then move on to component 4, which is behaviour, which is record your unhealthiest behaviours. Number 2 is record why they happen. So it might be boredom, frustration. You might get excited and, drink an extra glass of wine on an evening, or drink an extra bottle a week, or whatever it might be. Or it might be because you're sad. So you're starting to look at why you're doing what you're doing. It could be availability. It could be that you were travelling that day. So it's starting to make sense of why you're doing the unhealthiest things. And then number 3 is record the healthiest behaviours. Number 4, record why they happen. So again, it might be because you stuck to the plan. It might be because of availability. It might be because you were bored. It might be because you were frustrated, happy, sad, so on and so forth. And then research preparing meals. So when would you prepare the meals? Would you prepare it the day after? Would you prepare it on that morning? How would you do that? Would you have to then buy Tupperware, or would you be able to go to the local cafe that's next to your work? Something like that. So what you're starting to do is you're starting to work out and establish what are the actions that I need to be taking. So those are the 4 components broken into 5 to 7 actions. And then from there, what you would then go and do is think about, well, okay, what's the ones that I can do right now? What are the first things that I need to be doing in each of them? So draft 1 is you just lay it all out. So you have your major outcome, your 4 components or your 7 components, however many it is, and then you write out 5 to 7 actions that you can take within those components. Don't worry about the order, because what you would then do in draft 2 is you would then start ordering the process in which they need to happen in, and then you just start following through on them. And then what happens off the back of that is you may come up against some roadblocks. You may come up against some steps that you missed out that you need to add in. But what you're doing is you're making the process of becoming healthier much more conscious. You won't get overwhelmed by it because you've got a structure here that you're working through. If there are new things that come up, you just plug them into the formula that you're following, and then you move forward. So hopefully that's given you some degree of understanding on achieving goals, and it's given you a formula to start achieving them. But first of all, it just starts with a brain dump. You get it all out on the paper, then you start organizing it, prioritizing it, and then you start following through on it. And if there's anything that comes in along the way, you just add it in, plug it in where it needs to go, and then follow the plan again. So many thanks for watching. Hopefully that's given you a better understanding of achieving goals. Hopefully it's given you a formula to be able to follow, and you can then start following through, taking the actions and making it happen. So many thanks for listening. I will speak to you next week in episode 17.